What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie Mufasa, the Lion King. Here's a quick synopsis. The wise mandrill Rafiki tells young lion cub Kiara, the daughter of Simba, the story of her grandfather Mufasa and how he became a great king. The film stars Aaron Pierre, Kelvin Harrison Jr., Mads Mikkelsen, Tiffany Boone, John Caney, Beyonce, Donald Glover, Seth Rogen, Billy Eichner, Blue Ivy, Keith David, Lenny James, Anika Noni Rose, Theo Somlu, Tandy Newton, and Braylon and Brielle Rankins. Standout performances. The year 2024 turned out to be a big year for actor Aaron Pierre. He was the lead of the well-received Netflix movie Rebel Ridge, and in Mufasa the Lion King, he's the voice of the main character, and it's hard to voice any character that was once voiced by James Earl Jones, R.I.P., but also he has to sing. He does a great job at voicing a wise young Mufasa who is super humble. One thing that they did with the character, which I thought was kind of cool, was give him the senses that other lions do not have. And the interesting thing about that is those are abilities that he learned, not ones that he was born with, and that felt very purposeful. His co-star here is Kelvin Harrison Jr., who I've been high on since seeing him in the movies Loose in Waves. In Mufasa the Lion King, he's voicing Taka, who eventually becomes Scar. This, again, is a young actor taking over a character once voiced by a legend in Jeremy Irons. Harrison Jr. is doing a British accent quite effectively and sells the dark turn the character takes. Major studios nowadays like nothing more than to cast Mads Mikkelsen in the villainous role. He's played the Le Chiffre or the Cypher in 2006's Casino Royale, Caecilius in 2015's Doctor Strange, Mayor Prentice in 2021's Chaos Walking, Grindelwald in 2022's Fantastic Beast, The Secrets of Dumbledore, Dr. Jurgen Voller in 2023's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. In Mufasa the Lion King, Mikkelsen voices Kyros, a new power-hungry character who's kind of a lot of fun. He has his own song, and I laughed out loud where at one point he said he will be the one and only Lion King. The cartoonish nature of him was something the movie desperately needed. And finally, I have to take this opportunity to talk about how much I love Billy Eichner as Timon. He was the best thing about 2019's The Lion King, and I might not completely love the way he's used in this film, but I still found him to be extremely funny. Anticipation might be the wrong word, but there was a lot of interest in this movie before it came out, and the reason for that is because it's directed by Barry Jenkins, who directed the Best Picture winning Moonlight and If Beale Street Can Talk, and it's very easy to look at those brilliant movies and go, why on earth would he want to make a studio film and work with a well-known property like The Lion King? And after watching the movie and thinking about it further, it's a better fit than you think. Jenkins is someone who brings strong emotions to the movies he makes, and no Disney animated film is more emotional than The Lion King, and how he gets to the emotions in a movie with CGI lions is by focusing on the relationship of these adopted brothers. But even more than that, I saw it as a movie about your parents and what they teach you, and that it stays with you forever, that the mentorship is key in a person's life, and that it ultimately shapes you to who you are going to become. Mufasa in the movie is taught to pay attention to the other animals around him, while Scar is brought up being told that he's above everything because he's the future king. Every fan of Barry Jenkins was concerned he would be forced to make a movie that doesn't feel like his movie, that the big studio would eat him alive, like kind of what I think happened on Guy Ritchie's Aladdin. That did not happen to Jenkins. I would compare him to David Lowery, who made Pete's Dragon and Peter Pan and Wendy, two reimaginings of Disney classics that tackle themes that are true to the filmmaker. I walked away more impressed with Jenkins than I was walking in. The reason why I believe a filmmaker like Barry Jenkins should want to make a big studio movie like this is because he's capable of making a better version of these kinds of movies. I mean, I get frustrated all the time watching studio movies and going, wow, the director could not care less about this film if he tried. And you never get that sense with Barry Jenkins. He still cares about every character in the film, even though they are CGI animals, and he really is trying to say something to you that hopefully will resonate. He is trying to be artful. Another key figure in Mufasa the Lion King is Lin-Manuel Miranda, who has worked on many of the recent Disney movies, most notably the first Moana, and I got to say, I really enjoyed the new songs this movie has to offer, especially the song I Always Wanted a Brother, which is similar to the song I Just Can't Wait to Be King from the original The Lion King. The similarity is they are both hype songs for the main characters. The difference is, in The Lion King, Simba is eventually humbled by the end of the movie, while Taka is not in Mufasa the Lion King. It's unfair to compare these songs to the songs of the original film because we've had those songs for 3 decades now. I mean, let this movie grow. We don't know if these songs will become popular or not, or if we will be talking about them 5 years from now, but just let it happen. One of the biggest and loudest critiques of 2019's The Lion King remake is how the CGI lions were unable to convey emotions. How this movie was able to fix that issue to me was how they shot the close-ups of the eyes. And maybe it's manipulative, but it worked, especially during the scenes with Kiara. It appears that I like this movie, Mufasa the Lion King, more than most people, and it has to do with my relationship with the original The Lion King. It's the first movie I loved, and I will watch anything about these characters. Now, do I think Mufasa the Lion King is perfect? No, it has the same problems most prequels do, in that it gives you details you are not asking for. Like, Scar takes naps because that's what his dad told him, that's what kings do. I mean, over-explaining classic characters is annoying. Sometimes it feels like when you're watching these Disney live-action remakes or prequels of their classic films, it just seems like they don't understand that what was so brilliant about those movies, The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, where they were so simple. And all of the details they throw in these newer movies just overcomplicate things just a bit too much. One criticism of the film that is really annoying me is this one, that this is wasting Barry Jenkins' time, that if we didn't have Mufasa the Lion King, he would be out here making another Moonlight, or If Beale Street Could Talk. Yes, maybe that's fair to say. Maybe he would be making another movie you would like more, but that doesn't mean that the movie he's making should be discredited because of that fact. Review the movie by its own merits. Also, what has happened because of the involvement of Barry Jenkins is people are not reviewing this movie like it's a movie made for children. I mean, I keep hearing people say things like, why are Timon and Pumbaa even in this movie anyway? Maybe it's because most kids love Timon and Pumbaa and they're trying to please their children audience. I understand the fact that for many people, The Lion King is sacred text, but I am okay with them continuing to make movies in this world. Especially if great filmmakers like Barry Jenkins are the ones interested in making movies in it. Another thing that's happening here is these movies are being reviewed by people like me who have grown up with hand-drawn animation, and we are so used to that. Now that we're seeing this live-action mix of animation in 2019's The Lion King, and again in Mufasa the Lion King, we're not used to it. We don't know how people are going to feel about a movie that looks like this in 5 to 10 years' times. I mean, right now, yes, it does kind of look weird. I'm not going to lie to you. It's strange to see a real live-looking lion talking like Simba. It's weird. But after rewatching it a few times, I've become accustomed to it, so I think younger audiences are going to get used to movies looking like this. I mean, I absolutely loved Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book. I think it is the best live-action Disney remake they have made so far, and I really liked Favreau's 2019's The Lion King, and really like and admire Barry Jenkins' Mufasa the Lion King. I think these are well-made films. And it just kind of bothers me that the reaction you get from a lot of people is, well, I would rather just watch the original Jungle Book or the original The Lion King. And that's all well and good. I'm right there with you. I love those movies too. But just because those movies exist doesn't mean these movies are bad. And there lies the big problem with remakes or prequels or anything to do with an existing franchises. They are always compared to the thing that came before. for it, they are being judged against that thing and not against all other films. My point is, the people who really don't like this movie have not given me a good reason as to why. They've given me the, oh, well, I wanted Barry Jenkins to be making something else. Oh, well, I love the original The Lion King, so I can't love these movies. Like, I don't think those are good enough reasons. I think the movie does have its own issues, but those aren't the issues that people are harping on. The discourse surrounding these Disney live-action films has just become, should these movies exist? And I think that's a boring conversation to have. Yes, I can look at a movie like the upcoming Snow White and go, yeah, maybe that movie isn't going to be great, but I'm willing to give the movie a chance. Like, I haven't seen The Little Mermaid. I don't know if that movie is good or not. I do intend to at some point sit down and watch that film. I haven't been bothered by the Disney live action films. I think they've been largely okay. Some of them I've been interested in, some of them I haven't. I avoid the ones I don't want to watch and then I move on with my day. Box office: Mufasa the Lion King made $702 million, making it the 7th highest grossing film of 2024. It shows that these characters still matter to people. And this is the other thing that so many people have a problem with these movies, is that they think they are just made to make money. Well, yeah, duh. Disney wants the movies they make to make $1 billion. That's why they make Star Wars movies. That's why they look at Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny as a failure, because they want everything to make $1 billion. And for a while there, these Disney live action films were a sure thing to make $1 billion. I mean, The Jungle Book made just under, 2019's The Lion King made way over, as did the remakes of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. The last two films, however, The Little Mermaid and now Mufasa the Lion King, did well at the box office, but they did not reach that $1 billion plateau. So the real question is, will Disney continue to make every live-action version of all of their classics if they're no longer going to be sure billion-dollar hits? So I know most critics do not view this movie as a success, and I don't even know if Disney views this movie as a success. Did they hire Barry Jenkins thinking that they would hire this Oscar-winning director and he would churn out a $2 billion movie that would be viewed as a masterpiece? I mean, did they want everything here? Did they want it to be a critical hit and a huge box office one as well? And I really don't know how to feel about the upcoming live action ones. I mean, you got Lilo and Stitch, a movie I loved in the cartoon version, but I have no idea if that's going to translate to live action. And you have the aforementioned Snow White. I mean, I just don't know if audiences are going to continue to go see these movies. And the real breaking point for me is going to be whatever they end up doing with Hercules. I know Guy Ritchie is involved. I already made fun of his version of Aladdin. Will Smith is very good in it. It just doesn't feel like a Guy Ritchie movie, and now I'm afraid that Hercules is going to see the same fate. They're also just running out of the real classics that everyone would go out and see. I mean, I don't know how people would feel if they announced a live-action version of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like, I don't think that that would get people pumped up. It's a really interesting time for Disney overall because it feels like they don't know what to do with their property. I mean, they have everything you would want. They have Star Wars, they have Marvel, they have their own animated films, they have these live action remakes. It just doesn't seem like the studio has a real plan of what to do with it all. For instance, they almost put Moana 2 on Disney Plus. I mean, that's a surefire hit in movie theaters. Why were they ever going to do that? They put some of their Pixar movies on Disney Plus, and then they released Inside Out 2 and it became the highest grossing animated film. I mean, they just don't seem to have a clear, concise plan on what to do with all of these properties. And you really can see why they came up with a plan to do a movie about Mufasa, because they made The Lion King and the big complaint was, well, this is a movie we have already seen. So they attempted to make something wholly original with these characters. It's just so hard to to do that because you're watching this movie and you're going, wow, this is really having me thinking about what ends up happening down the line in The Lion King. Like, these movies are always going to be connected to that original 1994 film, whether the studio wants it to be or not. It's the problem with Star Wars as well. I hear it all the time. Oh, they need to distance themselves from the Skywalker saga. What is Star Wars without Luke Skywalker? What is Star Wars without Anakin Skywalker? That's why we made Rey a Skywalker, because that's what people care about, the Skywalkers. You make a movie like Mufasa the Lion King because you know it's going to get eyeballs on it because it has the name Mufasa. It's all well and good asking Barry Jenkins why he wanted to make this movie. I do think it's silly to ask why this movie exists to a big studio like Disney. I mean, again, it's an obvious choice to make. This is the best version of a movie like this that is a prequel to a beloved film from 30 years ago. Like, I really do believe this is the best case scenario for Mufasa the Lion King. There are way worse Lion King sequels and prequels that are possible, and I think hiring Barry Jenkins was the right choice, and I can see why he wanted to make this movie. And I know how people act. They act like the big reward for him was the big payday he got to make the movie, and absolutely, that was a big payday probably, but I'm also sure in the back of his mind he was thinking about, what if I actually get universal praise for making a huge Disney film? What if I'm the one who gets credited for turning one of these Disney live action remakes, prequels, whatever you want to call them, into a huge critical hit? That's how filmmakers become household names. They make movies that are universally beloved and seen by everyone. It's what happened with Greta Gerwig. I mean, Greta Gerwig was getting a lot of Oscar praise for what she did with Lady Bird and Little Women, and then Barbie came and it was a huge hit. Everyone saw it, and now Greta Gerwig is universally believed to be one of the best directors working today. We all know the name Greta Gerwig. Christopher Nolan was well known for making the movie Memento and Insomnia, but he became a household name after he directed Batman Begins. Was Mufasa the Lion King ever likely going to be one of those movies, one of those touchstones? No, but it has to be something that he was chasing, because look at what the reward would have been if he made a movie that was loved by everyone. He would be getting all the praise, the accolades, and the box office success. He would be getting everything a filmmaker wants. I'm also sure he was intrigued by the challenge of making a good mainstream movie. You can say he didn't achieve that all you want, but don't shame him for him chasing that, because it is something worth chasing. It is something that most directors strive for. Will Barry Jenkins ever make another big movie ever again? I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is he is fully capable of making one that is entertaining, that is insightful, and that has that same emotional touchstone you see in all of his films. And I'll tell you right now, I am going to be really annoyed when he makes his next movie and people call it a big bounce back from Mufasa the Lion King. I largely don't think this movie was given a fair chance, and there are many factors. The Barry Jenkins of it all, the past with the Lion King's success, the live action versus the animation. Closing thoughts, Mufasa the Lion King is a movie that mostly comes from a good place. Barry Jenkins used popular characters to touch on emotional themes. The music was effective, and overall I had a good time watching this film. I guess I just didn't come to this movie with the idea that it was going to have to topple the original The Lion King for me to like it in any way, and I feel like that's the way people come into these movies. Well, if it's not better than the original, what am I even doing here? If it's not even as good as the original, what am I doing here? I largely think that's the wrong attitude to have towards these movies. Sequels and prequels are going to continue to exist, and they are likely going to continue to entice filmmakers like Barry Jenkins to make them. I really like the fact that he made the risky choice in making Mufasa the Lion King. Directors should try to occasionally surprise you with the movies that they make. And boy, was Oscar-winning filmmaker Barry Jenkins making Mufasa the Lion King a big surprise, and a pleasant one at that. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode episode of the podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I highly recommend you check out Mufasa the Lion King. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about the film September 5, starring Peter Sarsgaard and John Magaro. So tune into that and please rate, review, and subscribe.